Hey everybody, this is Colby. Before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that at the end of this episode, we discuss the recent passing of the Gaudreau brothers. You may have heard about the tragedy in the news, and if you're a hockey fan, you have definitely heard about it. We try to keep things light and fun here on the podcast, but sometimes important things happen that can't go unacknowledged. Hockey is a tight-knit community, and even though we didn't know Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau personally, we wanted to lend our support to the family. If the subject matter is a little too heavy for you, we totally get it. As always, you can check the show notes for the time that we begin that part of the show. Thanks for understanding. So without further ado, hey Lucia, let's start the show.
Punch it to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Colby Cast, where we dive into movies,
21 gigawatts!
TV,
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
and everything in between.
Well, I don't know how you get a podcast, but you should look into it.
I'm Colby, and I'm joined by my two awesome sons, Caleb
I don't know how to tie my shoes.
and Luke.
I never shut up.
Together, we're your friendly neighborhood pop culture nerds, here to share our thoughts on Star Wars, Marvel, the latest entertainment news, and maybe even some sports.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
So grab a piece of cake
Cake! Everybody loves cakes.
and find a comfy spot on the couch, because this is your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
Did you know that that 2 out of my 3 classes that I've started school already, and 2 out of my 3 classes have a lot to do with pop culture? Have I told you about this?
Do they have to do with storytelling as well?
Community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling, actually.
Wow. Boy, do I have a podcast for you.
That's great. I have to, I really sort of nerded out last week because I have one of my classes is basically like the history of Soviet and post-Soviet cinema. And the professor, we went through the whole introductory thing, how you do in first day of class and whatnot. And the professor left us off with, what does it mean to watch film as a primary historical source? And it opened up a part of my brain that hadn't been opened up previously, because here we are week after week after week talking about movies, talking about TV shows, literally like what we just sort of goofed around with, community conversation, pop culture storytelling. But I've never considered it as a historical primary source, like you would, like a letter written from Alexander Hamilton to Congress, right, for George Washington, right? That's what you think of as a primary source. But I'm going to be watching Russian cinema for the last 100 years and looking at it as a context of learning about their society. React. What does that do in your brain?
It's so different than the way you're used to looking at things. It doesn't really make sense.
That's sort of what I'm afraid of too. How is this going to work?
Like you think of cinema or really any form of storytelling, and you think of it to be subjective, but I guess pretty much everything is subjective. But I don't know, when you're reading a letter that was written to somebody to inform somebody, you're not really looking for the intention behind it. You're sort of just reading the information and taking it at face value. But I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, after putting some thought into it, I thought that it makes sense too, because, sort of, especially with the era that I'm going to be looking at, because the first movie we're going to be watching was commissioned by the Soviet government to sort of use for propaganda. And it contextualized film going forward about how film can actually portray messages of revolution, and it's not just for entertainment, but it's actually like it could be used as a tool. That's very specific to the class that we're talking about with the Soviet era film and whatnot. But the same thing could be happening today. You want to put a message out there, you can make a movie about it, and people don't really realize that you're watching something that's constructed for you to react emotionally to, or get information
Yeah,
from. So it's an interesting thought. I think.
even if it's like more in the sense of trying to get you to think in a different way too, not just like think about the movie and be like that. Well, it was a good movie because it made me feel certain emotions.
Right, exactly. And then the other class I'm taking is literally it's an English class, and it's literally titled Pop Culture. And so we got to do like weekly writings and stuff for this one, but we're going to be reading and watching like a lot of different things. But it's all in the context of, like how pop culture fits into society and whatnot. And the first week I had to write something about uh the prompt was, what is your theory of pop culture? And again, I have to reference the fact that we're recording a podcast about pop culture, and we've been doing this for over 2 years. And I have to admit, I don't know that I've ever put any thought into what a theory of pop culture would be. And I won't bore you with all the details, but would you know how to react to that if you had to actually? Well, what do you mean? What is my theory of pop culture? If I had to put you on the spot right now, would you have a theory of pop culture, or would you have to put some thought into it?
I would just think of it as like the influence that I was gonna say like entertainment, but it's more than just entertainment because it's like every branch of media and film and music and the influence that that stuff has on society and like cultures. But I don't even know. Like it would take. I would pick my brain apart trying to find the right words for it because that's such a loaded question.
Yeah, it's a lot more than I want to put thought into it right now. So maybe some super smart listeners out there can shoot us their theory of pop culture. Because we like to use our brains sometimes here on the Colby Cast, but most of the time we just like to keep it light and don't make people's brains hurt too bad when we talk, and we don't get too deep. We like to keep things fun. So thank you for engaging my little rant about um, the scholarly side of pop culture, but we definitely talk about pop culture as more of the pop instead of the culture, if you follow my meaning. And that's, I don't know how you feel, Luke, but I feel like right now we're sort of in a quiet, sort of maybe the calm before the storm, right? House of the Dragon ended, and, I know some things are coming out, but nothing has really been hitting my radar that I've been like, oh, I desperately want to talk about this. What about
None of
you?
the none of the massive conglomerate companies that run the world are dropping projects right now. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but they're getting ready to. But we're just waiting because they all decide to like drop them at the same time, so that we are overloaded. Right now, it's just sort of a quiet time. But you know what? College football started, and we're getting close to the beginning of hockey season.
I
Baseball
was
is.
gonna bring that up.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I wonder how big of an influence college football and football start, like the NFL starts this week too. I wonder how much of an influence that plays because, I mean, those two industries generate so much money.
What a very interesting observation. I had not considered that. Do entertainment companies plan their calendars around the beginning of sport seasons? I think that would be a consideration. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's true, because people have disposable income. They're going to spend their money on certain things. If they're going to be going to a college football game or buying the newest college football or NFL package, most likely they're not going to be spending it on movies or to subscribe to a streaming service to watch the newest show that's coming out. Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
Or just the time you're gonna dedicate to it, right? Are you gonna go watch a show that drops on Thursday, even though there's Thursday night football going on? Are you gonna go watch a movie on Sunday, even though there's football on from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m.?
Very valid. Very valid. Well, that is so. There's one thing that sort of flies in the face of our theory because this weekend is the beginning of the NFL season, right? You mentioned is that the first games are going to be on Thursday.
Yes.
Okay, so there's actually a big movie that's coming out this weekend. One that I'm actually sort of excited about, and uh, one that I'm looking forward to asking you questions about right now because I don't know where you stand with this movie. But really, I mean, we've just sort of been chit chatting and talking, but the point of our show today is going to be to discuss things that are coming up. Instead of college football or the end of the baseball season or the start of hockey season, we're going to talk about TV and movies that are coming up basically for the rest of the year. And I'm interested to hear where you are with some of these and if any of these things you'd like we could record about and if we had to pick one over the other or something kind of thing. And also we like to be informative. Maybe there's something that's coming out that one of our listeners doesn't know about because there's actually a couple movies that I didn't know were going to be hitting theaters and a TV show too. Two TV shows that I completely forgot about that are going to be coming up soon. So here we are. That's what we're going to be discussing in this episode is what's coming up that's going to be exciting for the rest of the year. And it's actually a pretty full calendar, way more than I realized. So I referenced it, Luke. This upcoming weekend, September 6th, the sequel to Beetlejuice is coming out. And I don't even want to say the title now because I will have said his name 3 times. And I really am not in a mood for dealing with that weirdo, but I'll take my chances. So what's coming out this weekend is Beetlejuice. Have you even seen the original movie?
I've seen some of it, like in parts, but I do not remember it in its entirety at all. But I love the idea, I love the fact that they named it Beetlejuice. That's really good. That's really creative. I like it.
I'm sort of hoping that they're gonna be it'll be like a trilogy, and the third one will be Beetlejuice. Oh God, here he is. I can see him right now in front of me. Uh, so I want you to watch Beetlejuice because I would love to hear what you think because Beetlejuice is so weird. It is a really, really weird, campy. I'd have to look up exactly when it was released. I want to say it was the 80s. That sort of tracks. But man, it's fun. It's weird. It's out there. It's Tim Burton. And if you have time, I don't even know where it's streaming, if it's streaming anywhere, but if you have time, check it out because I want to see the sequel. I want to see Beetlejuice because I'm sort of excited to read some of the things that are in the news about it because Michael Keaton, they're doing the press tour and stuff for it, and he was like adamant that no, we don't want to just go overboard with Beetlejuice because spoiler, not really a spoiler, but Beetlejuice really isn't even he doesn't command the screen in the first movie. It's called Beetlejuice, but there are other characters in that movie that are on screen way more than Beetlejuice. And Michael Keaton was like, we have to stick to that. Like the whole point of the story is the story and not just Beetlejuice acting weird. So it seems like they've practiced some restraint. I don't know. So is this on your radar? Is this a movie you'd want to see at all?
Yeah, I'd be open to it. The trailer looked really good. Like it looked fun. It looked weird in the right kind of way. So that's enticing for me to go watch it. But I really like that you said that they're practicing some restraint with that because I think a lot of particularly sequels get carried away with that. They get a little ahead of themselves and think, "Oh yeah, we know what the fans want and we know what they liked. So when we're going to make this second one, we're going to make it about what we think they liked in the first one." And then they completely go off the mark. Like I'm sure we're going to talk about a show that's coming out on Disney Plus in the near future where I feel like they've thought the audience liked some part of it more than I think people actually did. So I think it's good that they're practicing some restraint there.
I think I know which one you're getting. We'll get to that here pretty quick. Uh, So yeah, I think that's very well said, because that's the big mistake that sequels usually make, right? Is just, oh, this worked so well in the first one, let's just make the second one so much more of that, and it's not really what they should be looking to do. So um anyway, we'll see. Time will tell. But Jenna Ortega's in it. Of course, Winona Ryder is back. I think her name is Catherine O'Hara. Played played like a grown up character in the first one. Of course, Winona Ryder played a young person. And get ready, world, for more Jenna Ortega dancing memes, because I'm sure, I don't know this for sure, but I would be shocked if they didn't put a dancing scene in this movie, because there's a big musical number in the first one, and I would only imagine that they're going to probably go back to that joke, or that trope for the first one. And of course, Jenna Ortega blew up with Wednesday and her dancing meme from the Netflix show, which is awesome. So get ready for more of that. But before we get to the one that you're referencing, I did also want to bring up Rings of Power. I don't know. I don't know where you're at with Lord of the Rings. I know that you enjoyed the trilogy earlier in your life. Um, but I don't know. Did you watch, or were you interested at all in the first season of this Rings of Power?
I haven't watched it. It feels like a really big commitment. Um, I have a hard time getting into shows or being willing to watch a new show if I don't feel like I'm very well versed in it, or if I don't know like if I'm gonna commit to it. Like I watched Game of Thrones and I knew that I was in for it, so I felt ready for House of the Dragon. I feel like to justify watching Rings of Power, I would have to rewatch all the Lord of the Rings movies, which I'd still be good to do because I remember liking those movies, but um, it just seems like a really big commitment. Especially, I don't think that it's a super like action packed fun show that you can just throw on, and right. My understanding is that it's a pretty slow burn, and it goes like deep into the lore of stuff, which is awesome if you're into it. But I feel like if you don't really know that stuff yet, then you might be on the outside looking in a little bit.
What you're saying, none of what you're saying is incorrect. I watched the first season. I enjoyed the first season, but I did sort of like start it and then stop it and then come back to it, because for me it sort of helped scratch the like high fantasy itch, because this again came out like right after House of the Dragon season 1 had finished. So it was good to sort of like, you know what, I want to get back into some crazy magic fantasy world stuff. So I'm going to go back to Rings of Power and watch it, because the first few episodes were compelling, but it didn't grab me to the point where I like had to watch it weekly. But I was glad that I went back to it, because it really ends up being a very compelling ending to the season. And I think it looks beautiful. Like the way that they've made it looks great. The performances are excellent. Though I think you would love the writing. The writing is very good. There's a lot to like, but I can't disagree with anything that you said about it being a big commitment. I actually was talking to a coworker about this earlier today, and he said the same thing. Like if he were to watch this show and he hasn't watched season 1 either, he feels like for his own, knowing that he doesn't have to do this, but for his own enjoyment, he would have to go back and rewatch the entire trilogy, which you don't, because this predates it by like, I don't know, a millennia or something. It's like it happened so long before the trilogy of what we are used to seeing in the Lord of the Rings. But I understand the point. Like, I understand why you would want to do that. So I don't know if you're ever interested in like, you know what, I miss magical creatures and elves and trolls and sort of like magic and stuff. It's a good watch. I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. Uh, they already dropped the first 3 episodes of season 2, and it's going to be coming out weekly. And there's only 8 episodes, so it literally is going to be finished by the end of October. So I already sort of feel like I'm behind on it, which is not a great feeling, because I did want to start watching it, but I haven't had time to really start chewing on it. So we'll see. We'll see if it's something I'm able to get to, or if it's just going to sort of get elongated out there. But anyway, I recommend it. It's a good show. But I think you were talking about Agatha all along earlier, right? About a studio making something that they think people like, but they might be mistaken. Is that what you were trying to get to?
That was what I was alluding to.
So I guess I'm reading that you're not too interested in this one, because this one comes out. It's starting next week. I think they dropped the first 2 episodes, and there's going to be 8 episodes. So it's going to be going on for the next couple months. Agatha all along. It's not on your to watch list.
It is not. I was sort of on the fence about it. We'll see. Maybe I'll get the spooky season will take over me, and I will be looking for something to watch that won't give me nightmares and make me pee my pants. Um, because I want the Halloween fix, but I'm not a big horror guy. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't interested in it when they announced it, and then they didn't really keep anybody's interest because how long ago did WandaVision drop?
Oh
3 years ago?
gosh, that
4
was
years ago?
like one of the first things in Phase 4. I think it was 2021.
Yeah, and they never really revisited Agatha in any of that. I know they had the Multiverse of Madness, but even that was like 2 years ago, um, and had nothing to do with Agatha. So I any interest I had in that, which was already pretty little, disappeared. And then I watched the trailer and I thought, yeah, this looks bad.
I'm a little intrigued by Agatha all along, and I can't say that I was from the beginning, just because, like you said, she's sort of like she was an important character in WandaVision, but she wasn't the point of WandaVision, and I almost feel like she was sort of like shoehorned in at the end because you needed some type of an antagonist, or you needed to get Wanda to the Darkhold or something like that. So I enjoyed the gag, like the sort of the joke of like it was Agatha all along, and I'm a sucker for a musical number, so I was happy with like um that whole musical aspect of things and whatnot. But when they announced the show, I sort of like scratched my head, and I think that this might be like the tail end of like they have to blitz Disney Plus with all this new stuff. Uh, but now they're not doing that. But this one was far enough along to be like, no, we're going to keep this and we're going to put it out there. Uh, I was a little confused by the tone of the first couple trailers, but the last trailer sort of intrigued me because they're sort of they're trying to work the angle of like this is a show about witches and there's going to be some element of creepiness to it. And I sort of thought back to like this special presentation, what was it, Werewolf by Night, and how much I enjoyed that. And I'm like, if they can grab any of the tone of that, then I think it's something that I could enjoy. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm a Marvel shill. I'll watch Marvel, I don't care, especially after Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I'm just sort of on I hyped up again about the MCU. So this is the next MCU project. I plan on watching it. So we'll see. I'll let you know what I think. And we'll go from there. But well, 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 look who came to record with us, Luke. It's Caleb. He's home from the ice rink. I didn't know you were going to be joining us. Welcome to this episode, Caleb. Thank you for coming.
Who dat?
What have you been up to? Where have you been? I haven't seen you in, I don't know, hours.
I've been working and then working and then working. The grind don't stop.
The grind don't stop indeed. We're talking about things that are coming out that we might be interested and that we might not be interested in. And right now we're up to the fact that The Matrix is coming back to theaters for its 25th anniversary. And that's coming out September 19th. Can we go watch this movie? I've never seen The Matrix on a big screen.
Yeah, I'm in. When's the earliest showing?
Let's see. We'll have to pick up. I wonder if they have Thursday night tickets. I'll have to look into that. I know it's supposed to be coming out the 19th. So, okay, I know I got one of you into it. Luke, are you coming with us?
I'm good to see The Matrix. Are they only doing like I know they did all three of the original Spider-Man movies. Are they going to do that with all the Matrix movies or just the first one?
No, I think it's because it's the 25th anniversary of the first one. I think it's just going to be the first one that's coming out in theaters, which is fine with me because I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm good to see it. I mean, I've never been a huge Matrix guy, but I've seen the movies and I enjoyed them.
So does that mean we're going to be seeing Beetlejuice, and The Matrix? Within the next couple weeks?
Maybe I don't think you could pay me to be in a movie theater very frequently. I think the last time I was in the movie theater is when you and I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, and I cannot remember the last time like after that.
I wouldn't know either. I know for some reason you guys are just like whatever on movie theaters, but
Well, the
the
experience is awesome. People suck.
so if you could go to empty movie theaters, you would.
If I could go to empty theaters and get free concessions, I would be the size of a house and would never leave.
Okay, I don't know about the free concessions, but I think if that's how you feel about theaters, then the Alamo Draft House is for you because the Alamo Draft House is like a chain of theaters where they literally will escort you out if you're being loud or if you're on your phone. They have actual rules and they enforce them. I've never been to one personally, but I've spoken to people who have, and they do like a little presentation before the movie. They remind you to behave yourself, and then if you don't behave yourself, they come in and ask you to leave. So, I mean, does that sound good to you or is that too much?
I like the sound of that, but at the same time, I don't even like to hear people laugh or, clap or anything in a movie because like when they do that, I think more about that than the movie and I just want to be like, shut up, let me hear the movie. I mean, one of my favorite movie going experiences was watching Dune. It came out on a Thursday. I watched it that Thursday, and then I went Friday at like 11 a.m. or something, and there were like two other people in the theater. It was awesome.
I remember you saying that, and maybe Alamo Draft House is for you then, because I've actually heard somebody PT McNiff. He is a friend of the show, and he is a part of the Long Take Review. Uh, he is the my source of like Alamo Draft House information because that's the one he goes to. He's even said like it sometimes the theater experience is dampened a little bit because people know like you have to sort of behave yourself and you're there to watch the movie. That like big moments like in Endgame, um like the portals and the Avengers Assemble moment, like the videos that you see of the theaters erupting, like you don't get that in an Alamo Draft House. So I don't know if that's up your alley, then you're welcome because now you know about Alamo Draft Houses.
With the oh so extravagant and grand Colby Cast budget, you should franchise one.
They actually just got bought by some bigger chain and people are
The
afraid
Colby
that
Cast.
they
People like podcasters in general, I feel like they want so badly for like ad reads to be just a natural part of the conversation. One, so like the person who's paying for the ad read just gets their like the full bang for their buck. But two, so it doesn't sound like absolute sellouts. Your Alamo conversation, like straight up sounded like a perfect ad read. So they need to pay you. They just got like if they just got purchased, they're swimming in some cash.
maybe some of it can fall our way. Yeah, Alamo Draft House. Hey, PT, if you're listening to this, go to like the manager of your local Alamo Draft House. Let him know to listen to this episode because although we've never been to one, seems that we're big fans.
Yep. It doesn't even need to be like a change of hands. Like just put our new intro as like a trailer before one of the movies. And we're good. We're settled.
I never shut up. So going chronologically here, we're talking about The Matrix. September 19th is when it's hitting theaters. On that same day, there's going to be a new HBO Max, or I guess it's just called Max now, TV show, The Penguin, which is a follow up to The Batman, aka Vengeance, from whatever year that came out. It seems like it's been forever.
I think
But
that was
yeah,
2021.
I think you might be right. So the TV shows are now catching up for those 2021 movies or TV shows that they're following up on. So yeah, you've got the Penguin from the Batman. This TV show supposedly starts up like moments after that film ended, and it's going to be the story of the Penguin sort of like stepping into the vacuum that's now been created in the crime world as a result of the Batman's events. So I'm interested in this. I love that movie. I think the character is amazing. The portrayal is very different than what we've seen before. So I'm totally down to watch this. And we're not we're really not known for talking about a lot of DC stuff here on the Colby cast just because there hasn't been much to talk about. But I'm sort of excited to see the fact that yeah, there might be something here to talk about with the Penguin. What do you guys think about this show coming up? You gonna watch it?
I have never heard of it until this exact moment in time. Um, I remember being very creeped out by the penguin in the Vengeance movie because he was just like gross. So I feel like that'd be an adjustment for me. But if it's gonna be the same quality, like sign me up. Why not?
Yeah, well, it's made by the same people, so I would imagine it's going to be similar or the same quality. Yeah.
I will be there.
Well, you are the resident DC sort of mega fan, so
Yes,
I would. Yeah.
I will be there. Um, I think his his portrayal of the Penguin is it's different. I mean, the only time we've seen the Penguin on big screen was Danny DeVito, right? This is not Danny DeVito.
No, no, this definitely is not. And I find it so odd because it's Colin Farrell, and Colin Farrell is a very handsome, very fit guy, and they make this
Very.
guy. You can't you don't recognize him. Like when you see they put facial prosthetics, got the whole fat suit on, and like it's it's a different person in my opinion.
He goes, "It's the worst Spanish I ever heard. El Rata, it's law."
I forgot about that. You know who else is in this in this TV show? The mother from How I Met Your Mother. Oh man, so that might be a spoiler if you haven't watched How I Met
Damn.
Your Mother. No, not really. Anyway, she's in it.
You already talked about Avengers Assemble and Endgame. I feel like we're the statute of limitations on both of those. If you haven't watched it, you shouldn't be spoiled. And even if you are spoiled, I feel like it means nothing to the people who are spoiled.
I think you could probably be spoiled on How I Met Your Mother and then go through it. It would take you so long to watch the 9 seasons of TV show that you would forget that I said anything by the time you get to the end of that season of that series. So.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're going to talk about the rest of the movies coming out in September. So let's zoom through these three because I think I'm going to guess that you guys are not going to be interested in 2 out of the 3 because I'm not even. I don't know. I might be. I'm not. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Then the first one on the list it comes out September 20th, and it's the animated Transformers 1 movie.
Pass.
You guys have already told me that you're not interested in it, so I'm assuming that's the same.
I actually had a really long argument, not even argument, but just conversation the other day about the new Transformers movie. And it was really interesting because the person I was talking to was saying, like, well, yeah, but, it's going to be different and it's different change of pace. And I was like, did you watch the Rise of the Beasts movie? I said, yeah. And I immediately realized, like, you cannot have an actual conversation with anybody who's willing to watch 2 Rise of the Beasts movies because that movie was terrible. I've gone with my friends to see some bad movies. We went to the theaters to watch Madam Web just because we knew it was going to be bad. I did not think that Rise of the Beasts was going to be a movie I went to go watch to make fun of afterwards, but it was up there. That was one of the worst movies I've seen in theaters. So no, I will not be there for the second one.
I don't think I'm going to go see this in theaters, but I do want to see this. And it's I mean, first of all the cast is great. You've got Scarlett Johansson, you've got Chris Hemsworth,
They're
uh
in
um,
this movie.
their voices, yeah.
They need to fire everybody on their marketing and advertising teams, because this is the first I'm hearing of it. And I've seen one poster on a billboard and all like the bus stops and stuff. And it's the same character over and over. And it just says one really big and Transformers really small.
Chris Hemsworth is Optimus Prime. Brian Tyree Henry is Megatron. Scarlett Johansson is Elita. Keegan Michael Kay is Bumblebee. Lawrence Fishburne is voicing a character. Steve Buscemi, John Hamm. These are all people in this movie.
We need to start investigating these studios for money laundering. There's no way that they were able to pay all those people and actually expect to make their money back.
That's a good point. I'm really interested to see, like, what does this movie do? I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's sort of weird to me.
Do you remember the other week you, me, and Mom, we watched Hot Ones with Bryan Cranston?
Yeah.
He's the GOAT, by the way. Something he said resonated with me, and I'm not trying to sound like edgy or anything, but he's just a super, super smart, cool dude and who acts really well and plays some really cool characters. But he said that some studios will just star stud the cast and expect them to carry, versus
Yeah.
others the script and the storytelling is what carries, and then the acting takes it to the next level. And I've never really like thought about it on that level. I thought like, okay, yeah, this is a money grab with all these super huge actors, but like some people are just going to watch that movie because Chris Hemsworth's in it, or they're just going to watch it because their favorite actress Scarlett Johansson's in it. And I'm
Sure.
going to watch it now because you have mentioned this. You said my boy Keegan Michael Key was in it. I remember you talking about this what feels like forever ago, and
Yeah.
me and him were tight, so I got to support my guy.
Yeah. You watch like soccer together or something, right?
Yeah, I ran into him at a Wrexham FC soccer game uh, last summer.
Yeah. And you're just like, you like run into people. Uh, like randomly, you ran into Winston from New Girl at some like breakfast spot in LA or something. This stuff doesn't happen to me. It happens to you. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
okay with
because we went to go grab breakfast or something.
it. Nice. All
Notice
right.
how we called it soccer and not football?
Soccer, football. I have to tell you that we spent more time speaking on Transformers one than I thought. So, at any rate, not September 20th. The very next week, animation, right? The Wild Robot comes out. I'd like to see this movie. The trailer looks amazing. Pedro Pascal is in it. Lupita Nyong'o is in it. Um, Lots of people are in it. Ving Rhames is in it. Mark Hamill voices a character in it, according to the Google page I'm looking at. The trailer looks super interesting to me. I don't know a ton about it, which is even more exciting. And, it just looks so beautiful. So I'd like to see this movie. Again, not sure if time and finances will go for like, unless Alamo Drafthouse wants to pay us to go watch it there. I mean, maybe. But what about you guys? Where is this movie on your radar?
I've never heard of it.
You should look at the trailer. It's like, I was gobsmacked. Yes, gobsmacked.
What was it called again? Robot Chicken something? What?
The Wild Robot, man.
Yeah, that same thing.
The Wild Robot Chicken. So seriously, no, nothing. You guys are. This isn't on your.
So when I forgot what like movie we watched, but it was super super early in the trailers, and I don't know. I was having a day that day, and watching the trailer, I was like, okay, they're trying to do too much. But then I saw the trailer again, and this is one of the few trailers I was like, oh wow, this is why they make trailers. Like they didn't just tell us the entire plot of the movie. It was visually super cool looking. Concept is interesting, not necessarily something I'm going to spend too much time thinking or talking about, but I love animation. I love like things that are conceptually cool and successfully done in practice. So you can sign me up for that. I'd go watch that with you.
Yeah, it looks really good, and I doubt that Luke will would not be into it after he watches the trailer. So there's some homework for you. On the same day, I don't think it's quite the level of a Barbenheimer situation, but on the same day, a movie called Megalopolis comes out. We're on September 27th. Yes, the movie is called Megalopolis. Say it with me. Megalopolis.
Megalopolis.
Isn't that fun? Megalopolis.
You are building this up to be something that is not going to come close to. I'm going to be telling my kids about Barbenheimer. My kids are going to read about Barbenheimer in history books.
And they will also read about Megalopolis.
No one is going to talk about that in 3 months.
Have you heard of The Godfather?
I have.
Have you heard of Apocalypse Now?
I have. I have watched.
Have you heard
neither.
of the magnificent Keanu Reeves vehicle from the early 90s, Bram Stoker's Dracula?
No, but I did watch Speed.
Don't get you confused with this. Have you heard of The Godfather, like 2 and 3?
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking you this is because all of those movies were made by a man by the name of Francis Ford Coppola. Have you ever heard that name?
No.
Well, you have now. He is an icon of movie making, and this is his latest film. I will repeat, Megalopolis. And I want you guys to check out the trailer when you have a spare minute, because it does something I've never seen a trailer do. It literally starts, huh?
You don't know your audience very well. If you told me Shia LaBeouf was in it, I would be in from the get-go. I had to look. I just looked it up. I'm in. Shia LaBeouf is in it.
Shia LaBeouf is in it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just okay, so you're in on Megalopolis.
Just because of Shia LaBeouf, but I'm gonna fine you 5,000 million bajillion Dwight Schrute bucks for every time you say Megalopolis.
Adam Driver is also in it. Giancarlo Esposito is also in it.
When I look it up on Google, it shows a familiar face and name first. Do you know who she is?
Yeah, Missandei from Game of Thrones.
That's a different person that shows up for me.
Okay, who's the show for you?
Grace Vanderwall.
Oh yeah, she was from America's Got Talent, right?
Yeah, what a trip. I don't remember what she did. I just remember her name.
She's a singer.
And now she's an actress? What?
Yeah, she's a superstar. So this movie is made by Francis Ford Coppola, who made all of those other classic films. The trailer for this movie, when it finally dropped, like after months and months and months of people talking about it, literally starts out by putting up the name of these previous movies, like Apocalypse Now, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, like the other one that I mentioned, The Godfather, and it puts like comments from critics that were calling the movie terrible, like don't go see this movie. It's just like critics panning these other movies, but obviously time has shown that they've turned into classic films, right? So I don't know if he's just like going about lowering people's expectations or saying this is my next classic. By the way, it's called Megalopolis, and people may not understand.
White True Bucks.
So people may not understand this when it first comes out, but give it time because it's going to be a classic. It's either going to be like I don't know, it may take over the zeitgeist, or it may just be a complete flop. We have no idea, but at any rate, it's on my radar. Again, I don't know if I'll see it in the theaters. Sorry, Francis Ford Coppola. I don't know if I'm going to spend my money on it, but I do want to see the movie. So
yeah, I'd never heard of it until this moment, but with the cast, why not? Let's do it.
The trailer is a trip, like an absolute trip. So anyway, that takes us through September. Getting into like I don't know, at least on the things that I've looked up, the TV shows sort of go dry through like October. Once we get past like the Penguin, there's nothing really on my radar until Skeleton Crew in December. So, you know, I know, I mean, that's Star Wars, so we're watching Skeleton Crew. That's no big deal. But let's go into October as far as movies go, because there's only a couple that are on my radar, and I'm not watching them. Joker 2 and Venom 3. Are you guys interested in these movies at all? Because I didn't see Joker. I have no intention of watching Joker. I don't want to watch Joker. And I ironically watched the first two Venom movies. I'm really not into watching the Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies, if that makes any sense. I haven't seen many of them. So I'm really not really going to be watching Venom 3. Should I? Are you guys interested in these?
I have no interest in watching Venom 3. I thought Venom 1 wasn't great, but Venom 2 was just straight up bad. Um, I have no interest in Venom 3. Joker 2, I don't know. Maybe it the first one was interesting. It was a good movie for what it wanted to be. But I don't know. It seems I don't know. I have to be willing to like ruin my day to go watch it because I'm sure I'm gonna walk out of that theater just in like in a sour mood and a negative outlook on life. So maybe I'll watch it on like a Monday night or something.
Just like on Monday night or something. Yeah, I sort of feel the same way about both these movies. I'm not sure. They're not. I don't think they're made for me, so I'm not really interested. Um, Caleb, Joker 2, Venom 3.
No.
Okay, yeah, that's sort of what I thought too.
Honestly, but
I'm okay with
you
that.
know me, I start something, I feel like I have to finish it. I've seen Venom 1 and 2. I feel like I got to see it through. Didn't even mean to rhyme. Um, but
Spitting fire.
just what I do. I again did not mean to rhyme with the last thing I had said. Nah. I feel like the money that we spend on streaming services that they would inevitably go to is still too much money to watch it, and it's technically free by the time it gets to us.
Yeah. Um, you know what? I am so not into these two movies that I apologize. I'm usually not like I just don't whatever. I'm just gonna switch gears completely and say that I forgot. I mentioned that TV shows sort of dry up in October, but I am so completely wrong about that. And I know one of you watched this series that I'm going to bring up, and the other one hasn't. So I'm going to rely on you that have seen it to audibly react to the magnificent news that on October 16th, the beginning of a 12 episode season 2 of Shrinking will debut.
Let's go. I was
Told you.
scrolling I was scrolling mindlessly through Apple TV the other day, and I was like, I wonder if when they're gonna come out with a second season. And I looked it up, and it literally like had come out that day that they were releasing it in October. I'm so excited.
Me too. Me too, because Shrinking was season 1 was low key one of the best TV shows I think since like Ted Lasso. This show is so amazing, Luke. It would be time well spent for you to watch it. It's got Jason Segel, it's got Harrison Ford. It's excellent. It's just so good. There's so many memorable moments in it. It's got heart. It's great. It's great. And I'm so glad that I don't even remember when the first season came out, but this seems like it's very quick that the second season is out, and I'm super pumped about it. So I know I've told you, Luke, to watch this show. Do you think you're going to ever get to it?
Maybe. I mean, it sounds like a good time, but I'm watching Bob's Burgers right now.
I know you're getting ready for like season 32 or whatever that is. I know it's a lot of work.
You are the storytelling guy of the group. It is nothing but story. It is super dialogue heavy, and the acting is so good. And some of the themes are a little heavy here and there because it's literally about a shrink. But man, it is so good.
I, I I don't think that it's hyperbole. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that it may be some of Harrison Ford's best work ever. I mean it. I don't even. I'm not even exaggerating.
Better than Red Hulk?
That remains to be seen. We don't know.
Someone
Maybe.
said he wasn't even acting there. Someone had just asked him about Han Solo and his role in Star Wars, and he acted.
Love it. That's great. Yeah, writing guy, Mister. I need good writing. Writing in this show is magnificent. Like it's so great. So yeah, one of these days you'll take my advice. You'll take Caleb's advice. Um, you know what? I think that's going to do it. I think we're just going to go through September and October because I actually did want to talk about something that's sort of more on the serious side because it's got the it sort of like touches our hockey heart, and that is the tragic loss of uh, Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau that happened last week. Um, for those of you who may not know who that is, Johnny Gaudreau played in the NHL. He played for the Calgary Flames and he played for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And previous to that, he was a star. Well, he was a star in the NHL, but he was also a star in college. He played for BC, right?
Yep, national champ.
National champ at Boston College. His nickname was Johnny Hockey. The guy just always had a smile on his face. He just loved playing. By all accounts, he was this magnificent human being. And, you know, although his brother Matthew didn't play in the NHL and didn't have the kind of hockey career that Johnny Gaudreau did, doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things because unfortunately these two brothers were in their hometown in New Jersey in town for their sister's wedding and were road biking, road cycling, and unfortunately were killed by a drunk driver. And this happened on August 30th, so just last week. The hockey community is like, for lack of a better phrase, shook, right? Like it's something that just breaks your heart. It's a tragic occurrence. Johnny Gaudreau was a father and a husband, and his two kids are young. They're like a toddler age, and infant age. And then Matthew Gaudreau's wife is pregnant, and it's just a tragic story. And I mean, there's a couple reasons why I'm bringing it up, and you know, we like to keep things light and we like to have fun here on the Colby Cast, but we know that the stuff that we talk about on a weekly basis, you know, we just sat here talking about what's going to be coming out as far as movies and TV for the next couple months. Really, in the grand scheme of things, none of it matters. These things are here to, you know, to lighten the spirit and to inspire and to fire our imagination. But it's always good to remember what's important, I think. And I don't know, it was heavy on my heart when I read about this, that this is a completely pointless and preventable tragedy. If a person just had decided not to get behind the wheel of a car, these two people would still be alive. And as a father of two sons, it really slams home the importance of saying the things to people that you love, telling them that you love them, uh, taking every minute at what for what it should be, because it could be anybody's last. So the thing that I keep hearing about Johnny Gaudreau is what a magnificent person he was. He wasn't just a great hockey player, because he was a great hockey player. He's a good person, and really that's what it boils down to. Is, do you have a smile on your face when somebody comes to you and has an interaction with you? How is that person leaving that interaction with yourself? Because everybody universally just talks about how wonderful Johnny was. So I don't know. I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to hear Caleb, Luke, your thoughts on Johnny Gaudreau and the situation. But more than anything, I just wanted to use it as a reminder to find the people that you love and tell them tell them what they mean to you, and give them a hug and appreciate them, and hopefully they do that back to you, because life is too short.
Yeah, Johnny Gaudreau was a player that I loved watching growing up. He was one of the smallest players in the NHL, and he was able to become one of the best players in the league, an absolute superstar. And like you talked about, everybody loved him and everything. But it's he was a very rare player for his time because he was playing in a very physical era of hockey, even though he was a smaller player, and he definitely inspired a lot of younger guys who are now tearing up the NHL because they realize that if he can do it, they can do it too. And it's happy to see that his legacy is going to live on through that, whether or not people know it. Um, he changed the game by paving the way for smaller, more skilled players who previously wouldn't get any looks because of their size. So it's a good thing that he's going to get to allow others to play hockey when if he hadn't paved the way for them, they never would have.
That's a very good point. I mean, that legacy is cemented. Like, that's, everybody wants to matter, right? Like, they want to leave something indelible on the world, and that is definitely something that he did for the hockey world. So yeah, good point. I like that.
Even like with how tragic all of that is, like it's a testament to finding the light in the very dark moments, and the outpour of both support for the Gaudreau family that has been around since the tragedy last Friday, um, has been almost like second to none. There's been a GoFundMe where they've raised a bunch of money for Matthew's wife who's expecting a child, and supporting them and doing all that. But even more so, just the literal thousands of people and their lives that were touched by Johnny Gaudreau by simply just being himself. They also called him Johnny Ham and Cheese, because there's a story where he went and he just liked being around his teammates. He liked being around his friends that were his teammates, and they all wanted to go to this really good sushi restaurant, and he didn't like sushi because he was a very picky eater. So he went across the street to a sub shop and just got a ham and cheese sandwich, brought it back in dry, just literally ham cheese on, I would assume, like white bread, and in the sushi restaurant ate the ham and cheese sandwich with his teammates just to be there with them. And seeing these like hockey players, celebrities, football players, and just like I think LeBron even posted about it because
Yeah,
he played in Columbus, and LeBron's in like from Ohio, right? But
yeah,
seeing him touch people's lives by simply just being themselves and giving them a smile, giving them a time of day, like I think that's the thing that we take from it, is just make sure you're being yourself and unapologetically yourself, and that's what really is going to be the lasting effect on people.
yeah. I'm very proud to hear both of your comments, just because you guys went and found the positive. And I always think of the quote that Mr. Rogers talked about, that his mom uh, told him when he was growing up. And like, when you see a tragedy, or you see, like, some kind of an emergency or something, she would always tell him to look for the helpers. And to me, that's like, you look for the positive, even though this is a tragic story. And the more I read about it and the more we learn about it, the more tragic it gets. But both of your comments just help me to remember that in these times, you want to look for the positive, because I mean, I didn't know Johnny Gaudreau. I didn't know Matthew Gaudreau, but it seems, by everyone else's words, and you guys are confirming, they're the types of people that would look for the positive too. If this had happened to somebody else, they're looking to try to be helpers and to look for the positive. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah,
I
thank you.
uh, I think it's really cool that you touched on it. I think it's fun to think of the tributes that he's going to get, even though it's a sad thing that shouldn't have happened. I think as much as it's going to have like a sort of stark thing on the season, I think if you remember him for who he was, I think you're remembering him well.
And I wanted to mention also that the hockey community has this tradition that when a tragedy like this happens, we leave our sticks out, right? We put a couple hockey sticks out outside our door. And that was a tradition that sort of started a few years back after another tragedy had occurred in a bus load of young hockey players, teenage hockey players, the Humboldt Broncos, right? Were tragically killed in a highway car crash. And at that time, people started saying, leave your sticks out for Humboldt. And it's sort of grown into other, whenever something tragic like this happens. And unfortunately, we have had some deaths in the hockey world, due to, post-concussion syndrome kind of issues and other issues that come from that. And when something like this happens, the hockey community gets a hockey stick or a couple of hockey sticks and puts it outside their door. And we've had our sticks out since this happened. And that's another positive, right? Because that's a community coming together. And who knows, somebody like the mailman may come up to our door and be like, why are there hockey sticks on outside these people's door? But knowing that other people are doing the same thing is sort of a uniting concept that I really like. So yeah, we've got our couple sticks out there for Matthew and Johnny. And we just, of course, in our little way, would like to contribute to the hearts, or to the thoughts and the prayers, and tell everyone that our hearts are with the Gaudreau family in the very difficult time. So, find somebody that you love, give them a hug, and that's all I have to say about that. Anything else, guys, before we want to close out the episode? Anything that I've forgotten to mention that may be coming up here on our agenda for the next couple months, TV and movie wise? Have I left anything out?
No, I think we're good.
I will dip into November and just remind you that you have your Bene Gesserit TV show coming up in November. There's no release date yet, but it's
What word did you just say?
Bene Gesserit. It's from Dune. The people with veils over their faces, and that they speak in the voice. They're the Bene Gesserit. Yeah.
I don't know why, but that felt completely brand new and foreign to me.
Like you had never heard those syllables put together?
Yeah, that sounded like just mashing a bunch of letters together, and you said it convincingly enough where I said, oh, yeah, that's a real thing.
It's called Dune Prophecy, and it's coming out in November, so yeah. But we didn't get into November. We only touched on September and October. So maybe we'll revisit this once we get closer to November and December, because there's still a lot of stuff coming out in those months. So, all right, awesome. You guys good? We ready to finish this thing off?
Yeah.
Super duper. Well then, for Caleb and for Luke, this is Colby, reminding you that yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not guaranteed. So make today the best day ever. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find the Colby Cast on Instagram, Threads, and X at the Colby Cast. Episodes can also be found on YouTube, so like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, rate and review our show on your podcatcher of choice. That really helps the show beat the algorithm and helps us find new friends to add to the conversation. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. All music is licensed through Adobe Stock and performed by ProMusic24. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colby Cast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.